Women are exhausted from over giving, from doing too much in the home, at work, relationships, all while being told and adding items to our to-do list. Soften, surrender. And yes, that is what we want to do. I'm Dr. Jordin Wiggins, your guide to helping high-achieving women be as badass in the bedroom and relationships as they are in business. I help successful women who feel unfulfilled and disconnected create more intimacy, joy, and pleasure in our personal lives. As the author of The Pink Canary, naturopathic doctor, pleasure and intimacy coach, I know that hustle culture has taught you that doing it all is the key to fulfillment, but it is draining your energy and it is killing your intimacy. My mission is to guide you down the pleasure path, reigniting your desire, reclaiming your feminine power, and helping you feel deeply supported, all while thriving in your career. Today, we're going to talk about a post that I saw from a men's coach. I have followed him for years. I love his work, and this post made me want to vomit. If you are in an unfulfilling, sexless relationship, you don't have the intimacy connection that you want, I want you to listen up. So this post, the idea that men's struggles deserve equal airtime in conversations about gender inequality, and that the real problem is that everyone's hurting. I found this deeply frustrating and off-putting. And it's also the same reason why you don't hear me talking about balancing masculine and feminine energy in the same way anymore. Lots has changed in the last few years. Let's talk about the reality of gender inequality. Right now, women are 49% of the population. However, we perform 76% of the unpaid labor. We are 84% of the single parents. We earn 36% of the global income, 4.8% of Fortune 500 CEOs. We receive 2% of venture capital, and we are 1% of history textbooks. At this rate, it is going to take 134 years for women to reach full equality. That means none of us, not our daughters, not even our granddaughters, will see parity in their lifetime. Women face systemic barriers to leadership and experience disproportionate violence in relationships and in society. Okay, men don't feel the need to walk to their cars with keys in their hands because they feel like they are going to be raped or murdered or assaulted. And I'm going here, so we're going to go a little bit deeper. Rape and sexual assault. Almost 40% of women in the US have been raped in their lifetime. Depends on the statistics that you read. From 1 in 2 to 1 in 4 women in the US has experienced physical violence by an intimate partner in their lifetime. Indigenous women and girls are 12 times more likely to be murdered or missing than any other woman in Canada. 12 times. Black women in the US experience intimate partner violence at rates of 35% higher than white women. And let's put a little cherry on top. Sexual harassment in the workplace. 47% of women in Canada reported experiencing sexual harassment at work. If we look a little more globally, 146 women were killed by their partner or ex-partner in the last year in France, marking a 21% increase from the previous year. So femicides, domestic violence, intimate partner violence is all increasing worldwide. In India, a rape occurs every 16 minutes. Over 70% of the casualties in Gaza are women. 87% of women aged 15 to 49 have undergone female genital mutilation in Egypt. So, when the conversation is about women's rights and gender equality, and people claim that men are struggling too, or we hear not all men, what we are really doing is derailing the conversation away from the systemic injustices and the issues at hand. So, the reason why this coach's post was so triggering to me was the false equivalency. Okay, like this is like all lives matter. Bringing up men's struggles in a conversation about gender equality is like saying, but what about the white people during a discussion about Black Lives Matter? No one is saying men don't face challenges. No one is saying that men's mental health isn't important. Men's struggles are not the same as women's struggles. White people's struggles is not the same as people of color's struggles. Look at the statistics that I just stated for you. And the reason is society does not devalue men in the same way that it devalues women. Gender inequality overwhelmingly affects women and non-binary people. Pretending otherwise is a manipulation tactic designed to keep those in power, to center men's feelings in a conversation about women's lived reality. Think about that. And this is where it gets a little more frustrating because I used to talk a lot more about masculine and feminine energy as a way to discuss yin and yang and the balance in Chinese medicine, because I studied traditional Chinese medicine. And in traditional Chinese medicine, yin and yang, they cannot exist without the other. They are equal and reciprocal. But that is not how you hear about masculine and feminine energy being discussed in the coaching community and discussed online. And that is not the way society views it. Men and women, masculine and feminine, is not equal. So the idea that women just need to be more in their feminine completely ignores the actual power imbalances and the bigger cultural and societal factors at play. And I promise I'm going to get to what this has to do with your pussy and your relationship. So let's be honest, women are not exhausted because they're too masculine. Every high achieving woman that I speak with, every single mother that I speak with, every survivor of intimate partner violence, we want to relax. We want to let it all go. We want to be cared for. Women are exhausted from over giving, from doing too much in the home, at work, relationships, all while being told and adding items to our to-do list. Soften, surrender. And yes, like that is what we want to do, but we cannot do it when it doesn't feel safe and there isn't somebody to pick up the slack. So instead of asking men to step up and do their fair share, we are now being pushed this trad wife narrative, this feminine flow rhetoric to gaslight women into accepting less and calling it fucking balance. There is a fundamental flaw here. And that is that masculine and feminine are not on the same footing in society and culture. They are in traditional Chinese medicine that I studied. But when I was going to apply it to real life, it doesn't actually apply. And we have to be very careful about what we are saying to women because it could be making things worse. What is the real solution? The real solution is gender equality. That is what feminism is. And it's going to take 134 years to get there. And it might even take longer because we are going backwards in some areas. Instead of shifting focus to how men are struggling too, or blaming energy imbalances or telling women they're just too masculine. Let's focus on some things that will actually shift this, actually change this. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I don't hold back when it comes to calling out the real reasons why women are struggling with low libido, intimacy, and connection. But there are still some conversations that need more depth, ones that go beyond what I can share in an open forum. That is why I created The Pleasure Path, the alpha woman's guide to feeling fulfilled. A brand new private podcast designed exclusively for high achieving women who feel like they've tried everything, but still aren't getting the results that they want in their relationships or in the bedroom. This is my most in-depth, transformative work yet. Raw, real, and packed with insights that I've used to help thousands of women finally reclaim desire, connection, and joy. Raw, real, and packed with insights that I have used to help thousands of women finally reclaim their desire, connection, and joy. Why did this series have to be private? When I work with high achieving women, I see the same patterns over and over again. You're exhausted, holding it all together, and still feeling unseen or unsupported in your relationship. You're constantly over-functioning, but your partner is checked out, leaving you feeling like more of a roommate than a lover. You've tried therapy, you've read the books, maybe you've even had your hormones checked, but nothing is really fixing the problem. And worst of all, you think it's you, but I'm here to tell you it is not your fault. There's an entire system of conditioning that has trained high-achieving women to excel everywhere except their relationships and pleasure. It's breaking out of that conditioning that requires real, unfiltered conversations, the kind I can't always have on a public platform. That's why I had to create The Pleasure Path as a private podcast, so I could go deeper, so I could say the things that no one else is saying as it relates to being a high achiever. And so that you can finally get the tools, stories, strategies that will actually shift your reality. But don't take my word for it. You'll hear from alpha women just like you who have been exactly where you are right now. And it gets better. In episode 1, I dive into the 10 signs of anhedonia. And here's the truth. This isn't just another podcast. It's a roadmap for high-achieving women who are ready to finally feel desired, connected, and fulfilled in their relationships and in their lives. If you are ready to stop feeling exhausted and unseen in your relationship, to reignite passion and connection without forcing it or being fake, learn how to shift from over-functioning, over-giving to actually receiving, to finally understand why nothing has worked before and what actually will, then The Pleasure Path was made for you. But because this is a private podcast, you need to be on the waitlist to access it. Go to thepleasurecollective.com/alpha to join. And once you're on the list, you'll get every episode delivered straight to your inbox. This is your invitation to take the next step towards a completely different experience of intimacy, connection, and pleasure. You've done everything else. Now let's do the thing that will actually work. Head to thepleasurecollective.com/alpha and join the waitlist, because you deserve a personal life, a relationship, and pleasure in and out of the bedroom. I can't wait for you to experience what's inside. I'll meet you there. So something that we can do. Step 1 is extracting our heads from our asses. I am embarrassed to say that I had to go through extreme intimate partner violence and coercion to see things around gender equality as clearly as I do now. I was celebrating and empowering women, like the fake bullshit used to gaslight us further into thinking that we have more power and we have come further than we actually have, all while our rights are being taken away, all while intimate partner violence and femicide rates are on the rise. So women's rights issues, gender inequality issues, I would, talk about or think about the wage gap and maternal death rate of women of color is higher than how it would relate to me in business and how it would relate to me in what I learned in healthcare. But it was like this issue out there and something that I would, from the fringes, be working to improve or help. But I need you to know something. I need you to know something in your bones. We are not safe until we are all safe. Okay, white women, especially, I'm looking at you. Caring about issues that do not directly affect you at this moment is one of the most important things that you can do. And thinking that you're too busy or you're too stressed out to think about this or deal with this, it is by design. Because the more burnt out we are, the less energy we have to deal with or fight these things. Some simple things that you can do. Simple. If a conversation is about women's rights or women, the experience of women, don't bring up men. When someone brings up a man, this could be a man or a woman, politely shut it down. That might be a valid point, but we are talking about the experience of women now. It has nothing to do with men. If a conversation is about people of color, don't bring up white people. Shut up. Listen. Try and understand. By calling out harmful narratives, if we see them, to shift the focus back on women, and I'm talking about gender inequality in this episode, that is going to help change it. We can start rebalancing emotional and domestic labor. Men can take on equal responsibility in their homes and their relationships instead of expecting women to compensate. And it's so funny because we are supposed to be the emotional ones, but the tantrums that they throw if you stop shouldering the invisible workload it's honestly quite comical. We want to push for policies that support women's financial independence, leadership opportunities, career advancement. And most importantly, this is not men versus women or men's issues aren't important, but they are not equal. They are not the same as women's issues. And if we want to fix this at the crux of all of this, at the crux of the divorce rate, at the crux of the increasing domestic violence, at the increasing mental health crisis that we are having, it is the patriarchy. It is that we are not viewing men and women as equal, masculine and feminine as equal. In Chinese medicine, one does not work or exist without the other. And that is our fundamental problem. So when we are talking about women's rights and women's issues, and you say, what about men? Not all men. You are perpetuating the patriarchal construct that this is focused on men. And remember the statistics that I was stating at the beginning of the episode? Like I used to say not all men too. I don't say that anymore. Because it centers the conversation around something that it should not be centered around. If you want to see the truth of things and heal yourself and unfuck your relationship, if you're tired of hearing the same old bullshit messaging, balancing energies, even this is why couples counseling does not work for my clients, for high achieving women, because it assumes that both parties entering into counseling are equally willing to fix things, are equally willing to put in effort. And that's not the fucking case. So it's a waste of money, time, energy, and it gaslights my client into thinking that she's the problem and she has more to do, more to fix. So it just perpetuates the problem. If you are tired of hearing the same old messaging about balancing energies tired of feeling like this is an impossible hill to climb. It's really not. We just need to shift your focus. If you're still carrying the mental load, the emotional labor, the weight of societal expectation in your relationship, it's time to tell the truth about it, and it's time to do something about it. Gender roles are a massive, massive hole in your pleasure tank. It's keeping you burnt out, unfulfilled, anxious and depressed, probably a little overweight because you're emotionally eating, and definitely under-fucked. And just because you're in an imbalanced relationship does not mean you cannot heal it and shift it without the right tools and framework. And that requires you to tell the truth about what's going on. And it requires you to ask for help. Because this only heals with support, and it heals faster in community. I need to go lift weights or self-pleasure or something because I have a lot of energy that I need to move through me. Until next time, alphas.